What do Falcons do? Rise up. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show where we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general the sports happenings of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, lifelong football fan. So today I want to talk a little bit about the NFC South as a division, where I think we're going to finish in that, where I think the rest of the teams are going to finish, power rankings, and just in general what I think is going to happen this season for our division. Now, starting right out the gate, going with Carolina. Carolina has a pretty tough schedule, very similar to us, and they are going to be one of the less competitive teams overall in the NFL this year. They have a terrible quarterback position with Sam Darnold. Who knows what's actually going to end up happening with him? A lot of people are still saying that Baker Mayfield may ultimately end up on that team, but again, I've already made a video about that. I don't think it's going to happen unless Baker gets cut and they can pick him up for maybe a veteran minimum. But just looking at their teams, the games they have to play, things that I think are going to happen. They have a Week 13 bye, so they're very similar to us, and they have a very, very, very late bye. So they're going to have to play a lot of football before they get a break. But games that I think are going to be losses for them. I think they lose to the Browns, both rounds of the Saints, the Cardinals, the 49ers, the Rams, the Bucks twice, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Broncos. I don't think they win any of those games. They might sneak one out against another division opponent or potentially one of those random games catching a team sleeping, but I just don't think they're going to be very competitive in any of them. The games that are winnable for them, but again, I think are likely going to be losses or close games, are going to be both games against the Falcons. We probably will split with them. We typically do. The Giants, I think the Giants are actually better this year, especially with Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau. I think that really helped anchor them on both sides of the ball, so I think they're going to be a lot better this year. The Lions, I think, are on the rise, so again, just because Jared Goff is a quarterback, that's a very winnable game. The Seahawks, who knows about that one? They do have to go to Seattle, much like us, so that's going to be a tough environment. And the Steelers. So ultimately for them, I do think that a 2 to 6 win season is what you can probably expect. It wouldn't genuinely shock me if they go 0-17. But I've said the same thing about the Falcons at times too. But again, I don't think they will do that. I think they'll find a team sleeping sometime, or they'll have a competitive game where they sneak it out in the fourth quarter. But anyway, I think they're going to be competing for third in the NFC South overall. Moving on, the Buccaneers. Hopefully, this is Tom Brady's last season. I can't imagine having to play him for another 3 or 4 seasons. But anyways, when I was looking at them, I don't see any clear losses. They are still a very competitive team, and I think anybody who's analyzing their games against the Bucs are also just taking a stab in the dark as to saying, well, I think we're going to beat them, maybe we don't. I think it's completely up in the air, and I think they're probably going to win more of those toss-up games than they lose. Games that I think they absolutely win, I think they beat us twice. We're not as good as them. Don't even expect it. Anything we do that's competitive with them is a bonus and just shows promise for the future. But I don't look for us to beat the Bucs at all. I would be genuinely surprised in a positive way if we do. The Saints, I think they're going to split with the Saints, so they'll get a win and they'll get a loss. Carolina, same thing as us. They're probably going to roll over them twice. The Cardinals, they play them late in the season. Again, the Cardinals have not been good late in the season under the Cliff Kingsbury offense and the Cliff Kingsbury defense, so we'll see what happens there. But historically, the Arizona Cardinals are not good after about week 12. And then they have the Steelers and the Seahawks. I think they win both of those games rather easily. The Steelers may give them a little bit more trouble just because of that defense. I don't think that offense is going to have a great identity until probably midway through the season. And then the rest of their games, though, are tough but winnable. So they've got the Packers, the Chiefs, the Saints in New Orleans, which is the one that I think they would potentially lose. They've got the Cowboys at Dallas. They actually open the season there, and I think the Cowboys probably walk away with a win there just to kind of avenge last season. They've got the Ravens, they've got the Rams, the Browns, the Bengals, the 49ers in San Francisco. Again, they're probably going to win half, if not more than half of those. But if they do that, that puts them somewhere in the range of a 10 to 14 win season. I do think they're probably going to finish first in the division. I don't know if they finish first overall in the NFL. I've really got to do a deep dive on the rest of the NFC to see who I think is going to have the best schedule in the end and who's going to have the most wins. But they'll be competing for that for sure. Moving on, the Saints. Saints are kind of in a similar position to the Falcons, except for I think they are more talented. So wins that I think they're going to get. I think they're going to get 1 to 2 wins against the Falcons. Probably they're going to beat us twice, as much as I hate to say it. If we beat them, it's going to be at home in week 1. I don't think we beat them in New Orleans after the bye week. They have the same one that we do, week 14 bye. So if we only had the bye week and they didn't, I think we would be much more competitive. Given that both teams have a bye going into it, I think they're going to probably take that late in the season. They also have Carolina twice. They have the Seahawks. They have the Steelers. I think they win all of those games. Now, winnable games, I think, are the Vikings. Again, I think they probably steal one from the Bucks. They've got the Cardinals, who I think are winnable, the Raiders, the 49ers, the Browns, and the Eagles. Now, likely losses. I think the Bengals have done a lot to boost up their team, so I think the Bengals are probably going to be a loss for them. The Bucks, they're not going to sweep them, I don't think. I'm pretty sure they're going to lose at least one of those games. They have to play the Ravens. I really like the Ravens this year. They fell apart last year, secondary to injury. I don't think that's going to be a problem this year. And then the Rams. The Rams are still about the same team as they were last year. So what does that do for New Orleans? Puts them in about a 9 to 11 win season. They're going to be competing for a playoff spot, though there are a lot of other teams in the NFC across the board that are very good, that are going to be in that same range competing. But ultimately, I do look for them to finish second in the division. So again, I look for it to be Tampa Bay, Saints, and then Falcons or Carolina. As a fan, I would love to see the Falcons do well and show some promise for the future. Also, as a fan, if we're going to be bad, I want to be really bad to maximize draft capital. I know these guys are all playing for contracts and they're playing for bonuses. That's perfectly fine. And I would be happy to see any of these guys turn into long-term players for us that show some promise. Maybe Lorenzo Carter has a renaissance of his career. Maybe we get a couple of these new receivers that we brought on, Geronimo Allison and Brian Edwards, which I'm going to make a quick video about them at some point too. Maybe our troop of wide receiver 3s turn into quality wide receiver 2s or wide receiver 1s. Who knows how the season's going to go? And, maybe Marcus Mariota is the quarterback for the season, or maybe Ritter replaces him midway through. Maybe Mariota goes down with an injury, which he's been prone to, and we get to see Ritter much earlier in the season. Again, there's a lot that I have no clue how it's going to go this year. But I do think that if it goes like it says it will on paper, the Falcons are going to have a rough year. Carolina's going to have a rough year. The Saints will be competitive, but they may have some touchy spots here and there. And the Bucks will overall be dominant, but they're not going to come out with a 17-0 schedule. I don't think there's any way in the world they do that. So, again, that's what I think about it. If you guys agree with me, please talk about it in the comments below. If you disagree with me, let me hear what you think and tell me why I'm wrong. If you like the video, hit the like button. Consider subscribing. It's really going to help the channel out. And until next time, rise up.